First impressions, they create lasting impressions. To quote Malcolm Gladwell, our first impressions are generated by our experiences and our environment, which means that we can change our first impressions by changing the experiences that comprise those impressions. So, as we kick off our time together this week, let's think about the perception of salespeople and your first impressions, because I firmly believe people's judgment and perception of salespeople are influenced by their past experiences. So, if you can all buy into the phrase perception is reality, then here's what I want us to think about. What's the perception of salespeople in looking at this through the lens of your clients and your future clients? Because first impressions, let's just face it, first impressions are tricky because they can either make or break an entire experience. So, are your first impressions, encounters, or for that matter, experiences, are they causing people to lean into your conversations or lean back from your conversations? Because for many of us, first impressions become a filter. They become a filter for all future interactions with somebody. Now, we're going to keep this sales centric. These interactions could be with your clients or your future clients. But we all know this, in some instances and in some occasions, this becomes difficult to change someone's first impression of you. But we all know this, those first encounters, those first impressions, they may or may not be accurate. But it normally takes a long time and along with concerted effort to change someone's first impressions. Would you agree? I believe this is so. And here's what's interesting. There's a research company out there called SuperOffice, and they did some research. And here's what was interesting, especially around positive first impressions. They went on to say this, and I'm quoting, 72% of people are likely to spread the word to 6 or more people when they have a positive first encounter and first impressions of you. So here's what I want us to think about. And I'm going to ask you just 3 questions as relates to that quote and that stat from SuperOffice. Here we go. You ready? Do you ever wonder what's motoring, right? Keep this in mind. Do you ever wonder what's motoring through someone's mind the first 5 to 15 minutes of one of your sales conversations? Think about that one. Here's another one to give thought to. Do you ever wonder what they're thinking 5 minutes after you left the meeting? And lastly, do you ever wonder how many other people they may have shared your experience with after they meet you? Those are interesting sets of questions I'd ask everyone to think about. Whether you're a sales leader, a sales professional, a business owner, a business executive, I want you to think and I encourage you to think about the power of first impressions. Because let's just face it, we live in this business world where we're digitally empowered, we're socially connected. For that matter, we're hyper connected. And think about the role first impressions play in this. And that's the what happens next conversations. Because we do know this. We really do know this. A first impression can be formed as a result of a conversation. However, it can also be created by someone catching a glimpse of you from a distance. And as we wrap up our time together this week, by the way, I appreciate each and every one of you week after week as you're helping me spread this message. And this message I call selling from the heart. But if we can all agree that first impressions matter, in today's day and age, you just never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching you. So, here's what I want us to think about. Here's the question. Y'all ready? Are your first impressions leading to a meaningful connection or disenchanting disengagement? I'll let each and every one of you think about that this week as you bring to the forefront first impressions, because first impressions create lasting impressions, especially in a world where trust and credibility is so low in the sales world. Think about that this week. Are your impressions, are they allowing you for future conversations? Are they allowing you for deep, meaningful connections? Because first impressions create lasting impressions. I appreciate it again. I'm super grateful as together. We're in this together. We are building this movement. We're building this freight train called Selling from the Heart. It's about bringing sincerity, deep business substance. Here at Selling from the Heart, we just simply call it giving a rip. It's time. It's time to give a rip about the sales profession yourself, the health of your client relationships as you all work together to do even better business. Because I do know this, your clients and your future clients, they'd rather connect and do business with a sales professional who sells from the heart as opposed to a sales rep who is an empty suit. Have an amazing week.